Today we're focusing on the content creator problem when it comes to Call of Duty. Although the game makes its own mistakes and the community isn't always the best, content creators definitely have their role in the way things are, kind of how these things evolve and how people pigeonhole themselves in essentially doing loadout videos inside two-box lobbies. And I think a lot of creators, they have some kind of inspiration when they get started about, you know, hey, I want to make this type of content, this type of content, this type of content, but not everyone can be Jev. And that's a really hard skill to kind of master. And most people just don't have that level of charisma, talent, or maybe foresight to be able to make a video that people enjoy watching. On top of that, you kind of have this give and take when you're first starting out. I know myself, I've gone through various phases where it's like, oh, well, I want to do things a certain way. Well, that doesn't work. I got to do it a different way. And inevitably, you end up with loadout videos kind of being the cream of the crop when it comes to views. It might not get the millions of views most of the time. It's the most consistent way to get high views with a low amount of effort, because that's the most searched thing on YouTube when it comes to Call of Duty. Of course, there's outliers like Hunter TV could pop off, get an 800K viewed video, nothing to do with the loadout, but that takes a lot more time and work, especially when you get the trial and error for yourself. For example, very early on, I would go, you know what? I want to do this educational video on how to improve at the game. So what I would do is early on, I would say, hey, you know what? Top loadout video for this weapon. And then I would give the loadout immediately, which isn't really smart on YouTube algorithm wise, because you're trying to get people to watch as long as possible. But on top of that, what I would do is then I'd flip the script and essentially I would do a gameplay breakdown on how to use that weapon and give true strengths and weaknesses, how I chose different gunfights, how I positioned, talk about minimap awareness, spawn logic, which ways you go to flank, how the loadout ties into how you play. So it was more informative. And guess what? The loadout videos that I would make would get way more views than the tutorials that were literally marketed as exactly what they were, which is how to improve. So over time, things change and adapt and you kind of go with the flow. So for a lot of content creators, you're going to get stuck in that niche because the second you venture out to make something semi-interesting, it just doesn't do well. Not because it's maybe not good content, but it's just because maybe not as many people are necessarily searching for that. So there's different routes you have to go. And a lot of times the gateway is going to be loadout videos for a lot of people. That's just the straightforward and easy way, even though there are plenty of ways to grow in COD without doing loadout videos. It's just much harder, more difficult, and you kind of got to think through the process way more. And the content trap isn't exclusive to loadout videos. There's plenty of other content in the Call of Duty category, whether it's hate baiting, where they just hate everything about Call of Duty and it gets great views. You probably know some creators, you stop watching them or you still watch them. There's other people that go out of their way to do hacker hunter content, even though they know the person they're covering isn't cheating, but they got enough people to believe and they get views. Imagine if they covered something else and they get no views. Which would you do? Obviously, if you're trying to do this as a profession, which a lot of people are, whether in the growth of subs or the monetary side of it, you get more views, you're going to make more money, you're going to grow your subs. That's kind of a standard logic. If you have the choice to do a video that gets you more views and a video that gets you less views, as a common sense choice, which would you go with? And this is what a lot of people get tied into. So even if they don't want to make that content, even if they don't enjoy that content, they'll continue to make it. And that's why I've tried to vary my content. There's obviously been times where it's highs and lows. You enjoy it more or less depending on what you're making. But at the end of the day, I enjoy the videos I'm making, and that's why I continue to make them. But I'm still human, so of course I'd like to get more views, more subs on my videos so I can continue enjoying and making videos and reaching a larger audience. I think anyone with common sense has that same thought process. And that's going to bring us to the two-box problem. And I know this kind of feels like more of a new thing, even though this has basically been going on since around 2019. I did a kind of a full video, how people have gotten easier lobbies over the years, and it kind of got really scaled back in 2019. But see, here's essentially how it goes. You're going to get easier lobbies by playing with an account that has no playtime. And when you do this, you're going to end up just in easier matchmaking, which is not against TOS. Sadly, I wish it was, because then we could say, shame on you, you should get in trouble, you should get banned, but it's not. Until it is, it isn't. Some people are just jealous of easier lobbies. Some people don't want to go through the work, even though it's pretty easy to do. But regardless of that, we're taking that part out of it. I'm not trying to convince anyone two-boxing is good or bad. We're just going to talk about how it's influenced content creation in general. And one common misconception with two-boxing, that it's only creators doing it. This is not true. There are plenty of people that just play regular Call of Duty, never upload, never do anything. They are definitely doing two boxing to get easier lobbies. They want to avoid SBMM, even if they're the regular casual that just comes home after working 40 hours a week or whatever the case. They're going to grind on the weekend. They may be two boxing. I don't know how prevalent it is, but it's definitely happening for people that aren't making content. Now that we got that part, let's get into the why. So initially, most people will say, no, I'm not going to do that. Right? That makes sense. I'm just going to get gameplays normally. And this was my thought process. And that's why I've gone away from gameplays. I don't want to show off two box gameplay and be like, I'm a god. Copy this, but it won't work in your lobbies, because that's just the thing when it comes to the motivation. It's just much easier. It's a time constraint to actually record and get gameplays. And I'm not saying boohoo, me, content creator, but back in Black Ops 4, at World War II, and every COD prior, if I wanted to get a gameplay, I would just set up my class, I'd load into a lobby, and I'd get a good gameplay. Maybe take me 45 minutes to an hour to have a really good game that I felt was worthy of an upload, which isn't too bad. Pretty easy, time constraint. An hour of recording, got to make my thumbnail, title, all that good stuff. Pretty efficient. And then you have a good work-life balance, which is pretty nice. You kind of want to be able to work when you want to work and then have your free time when you want to have free time. In 2019, this kind of all changed, because although we had SBMM prior to 2019, it wasn't necessarily the version that we have from then on until today. And I still wanted to grind those gameplays. But these gameplays, it would take me like 7 or 8 hours of grinding a specific weapon to get one gameplay, which doesn't leave you much free time in the rest of your day. Again, boohoo, content creator. So as a result of that, I ended up kind of changing my content. As you guys see, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to see you play. No, you don't. Because all that's going to happen is I'm going to post a regular gameplay. And if it takes me a while to get, people are going to claim, oh, how do you get this easy lobby? Well, I played for 7 hours straight, and this was the best lobby I had. People aren't going to see all that. I don't want to have to explain that every video. So I don't even focus on the gameplay anymore, and I just focus on ways I can add value to my viewers. It's not always going to be an entertainment in terms of laughter or excitement. And even that's going to be in my style, the way I deliver that information, unique to myself, different from other people that do data-driven videos. So essentially, you're kind of damned if you do it, because then you're going to get all this hate saying, hey, how'd you get these easy lobbies? But then you're damned if you don't do it, because then you're still going to get the comment saying, how did you get this easy lobby? But they're not seeing on the back end, one person probably played for 45 minutes and the other played for 7 hours. It's not worth that stress when making content something I just want to enjoy and not necessarily worry about. And other reasons tied into the time is the casual person playing, maybe they want to do their camo grind and they want easier lobbies when they're doing their pistol challenges, launcher challenges, and they don't want to have to sweat with the newest, best weapon that's available in the game just to compete. Whether that's right or wrong, that's essentially what happens. On top of that, a lot of the content that you see that's reactionary, getting farmed clips, when people get a specific reaction that seems pretty funny, a lot of times these are going to happen more often in an easier lobby. So two boxing will also help that type of content excel, because that's not going to happen when I'm going up against another lobby and it's Scump, Shotzi, Dashy on the other team. They're not yapping and giving me any kind of funny content. If that were my content, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to sneak up, do some kind of execution. I'm not going to be able to do some funny melee. I'm not going to be able to get these commentary going. I'm talking to a sweat. It ain't going to happen. They're going to say something maybe racist, homophobic. That's what's going to happen in the highest skill of SBMM. It's just how it works. And if you're not doing that, then what ends up happening is then you got to play in a full party. That's why you see certain content creators, they play in full 4, 5, 6 stacks, just because then they can actually focus on having fun instead of having to worry about carrying 5 randoms. Again, boohoo, content creator. I'm just talking about the reality of what's happening and what ends up happening with the domino effects in terms of content creation. Now, probably one of the biggest motivators is that content creation is one of the most challenging, cutthroat, competitive industries, especially with the big boom of COVID. Everyone became a content creator that had a phone that makes content. There's a million ways to make content now that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. And it's monetizable, and people are hearing about Ninja getting $100 million or whatever the heck his contract was. It really incentivizes people to go above and beyond to try and get content. So again, they can both grow their revenues as well as grow their channels, which inevitably lead to more revenue. So going back to my original example where I said, man, I have to play for 7 hours to get the same gameplay, and you still people think you're cheating, you end up leading to a lot of issues. Like I said, I changed my content so I didn't have to worry about, hey, I need to show off that I'm a good player and I don't care about those things. But some people are making content. What ends up happening is you have somebody who's playing with 2-box lobbies, getting easier lobbies, whether it's reverse boosting or whatever you want to call it, and they're going to get 40, 50 kills a game. Then you decide, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to go ahead and sweat my life out for a long period of time, and I'm only going to get 27 kills in a game. And now we're going to have to upload that. Very stressful because that lobby, very hard. I have to use the meta weapons or use one of my weapons, the meta weapon, and then I'm trying to sell the other weapon as part of the loadout, but it kind of sucks. So I got to make a video that sounds interesting and it's overpowered, but it's only in this, like, it's really difficult to kind of sell that, especially when somebody's like, the mini bot is overpowered. And it's like, we know the mini bot sucks. How's this guy going to pull this off? They go and get 40 kills. Like, damn, if I use this in a regular lobby, it ain't good. I got to go switch to the actual meta to actually compete against people who are shooting back. And this dominoes into a few different things. So I'll give you that same example. If I go ahead and upload 20 kill game and somebody uploads a 40 kill game, how that was earned in terms of an easy lobby or a regular lobby doesn't really matter to the average viewer. The silent majority does not care, nor cannot tell the difference between an easy lobby and a quote-unquote regular skill-based matchmaking lobby. If they did, then the views on the videos with easy lobbies would be much lower. I know you see all the comments in there, bot lobby, bot lobby, bot lobby, but that's just the vocal minority. The actual silent majority is watching the video and they cannot tell the difference. And that kind of references the previous video that I did about the average skill of the average player. The average player is not going to be good enough to discern the difference, and they are the silent majority in this scenario. And those vocal commenters, they're on every video. Even the guy who only dropped the 20 kill game is like, how'd you get this easy lobby? He's like, dude, I sweated for 5-6 hours to get this 120 kill game. Again, this dominoes into a few different things. The person that got the easier lobby, it only took them about half an hour to an hour to get this good gameplay. Their energy reserves are fully stocked up versus the guy who grinded for 7 hours, a little bit lower. The retention on the video that is a struggle is going to be lower. Your views on those videos are going to be lower. And it'll even get to the point where people say, you suck compared to the other guy because they don't know that the other guy has easier lobbies. So what are you supposed to do? Let me just suffer and be miserable and actually never try to grow. Especially with the person in the easier lobby that can use different weapons, that have more variety. Like on top of the energy part of it, no one wants to watch somebody struggle. It's just more entertaining to watch a 40 kill game, especially if you just watch it for a 40 kill game. And that's what the average viewer is doing. The silent majority. And if you don't believe that, think about like the YouTube thumbnail meta. The average person who's watching the videos doesn't think it's cringe. That's why we have to use them, right? I think they're cringe. Maybe a lot of my viewers think they're cringe, but you're still going to watch the video even though it's cringe. The people that don't think it's cringe, they actually click on those at a higher rate. So it's like you have to play the meta game even with your thumbnail. And that same concept of why they're clicking on a higher rate, they don't actually think it's cringe. They don't actually care. They can't discern the difference. It's the same reason somebody who's dropping 40 kill games is just more entertaining. And I've talked a lot about a lot of things, but where it becomes a huge problem is I think when creators go out of their way to have this ego or the facade that they're way better than they actually are. Many people that'll two-box, they'll just go do their gameplay, they upload, they stay in their own lane, not a big deal. They're asked about it, they'll say yes. Cool, pretty straightforward. But there's a lot of people like, oh, it's just my lobbies. Oh, I'm so good, blah, blah, blah. And I think that pisses people off because the people that have a brain can tell the difference. Again, the silent majority, probably not so much. They think this person's a god. And then you put them in a competitive lobby. They can't even get a couple kills. Well, obviously there's a skill difference between somebody trying to make content and somebody competing for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Big difference. Just like if I played college basketball, I go to my local gym, I'm probably going to be able to ball out. But if I actually went into the NBA or even the G League, I'm going to get destroyed if I step on those particular courts. So I think that's a little bit of a problem when people just don't like the ego aspect of it, which ties again into the honesty part, which I think is really lacking on that end because the points I made, there's a lot of points in here that are just straightforward common sense. It's just more entertaining to watch a high kill game. But sometimes when people are asked about it, they'll directly lie about it. People don't like liars. I'm totally against liars. Omit their answers by not responding, just hide it in general. People aren't liking that. And I think if more people were honest, say, hey, you know what? For entertainment purposes only, I'm going to be 2-boxing, people still wouldn't like it just because maybe they're jealous or of the lobbies, or they don't feel like they want to do that or whatever. There's some kind of moral high horse. End of day, it is what it is. I just thought it was an interesting topic to kind of discuss. Let me know your overall thoughts. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.